The stars outside the observation window shimmered like frozen fireflies. Caleb stood silently, arms crossed, staring at the foreign constellations. He wasn't supposed to be here, at least not alone in the Varelian royal palace. Originally, he was part of the Earth delegation sent to improve relations with the alien world of Varelia. His job was simple: tech support, fix things, stay out of the way. That was the plan. But everything changed when the solar flare hit. A massive burst from the system's twin suns disrupted communication satellites and power grids across the capital. Emergency protocols were activated. While the main Earth Embassy building went into lockdown, Caleb had been inside the palace checking signal relays. Now he was stranded. Guards had led him to a safe chamber deep within the palace. It was quiet, filled with soft golden light and furniture that looked more like art than anything functional. The air smelled of spices and sweet oils. The silence stretched until a voice, smooth and melodic, broke it. "You're the human technician, yes?" Caleb turned and froze. She stood at the archway, tall and graceful, with pale blue skin that glowed softly in the dim light. Her eyes were large, violet, and filled with something he didn't expect: loneliness. Yes, he said awkwardly. Caleb. Just Caleb. The alien woman stepped closer, her long robe flowing like water. "I'm Princess Zarea," she said with a gentle bow of her head. "You may sit." He nodded quickly and sat on the edge of a strange, curved bench. "It's an honor, Your Highness." "You don't have to call me that," she said softly, taking a seat across from him. "Not here, not during this strange moment of silence." He blinked. Strange moment? She looked out the window. The palace has never been this quiet. The storm outside took everything noisy with it. No voices, no machines, just stillness. Caleb followed her gaze. "I guess it's kind of peaceful." She smiled. It was soft, sad. "That's rare. Here." There was something in her voice that made Caleb feel she wasn't just talking about the solar storm. He shifted awkwardly, unsure what to say. This was his first time speaking to a Varelian royal, and she wasn't what he expected. "Do humans fear touch?" she asked suddenly. Caleb looked at her in confusion. "Touch?" She leaned slightly forward. "Earlier, when I greeted you, I placed my hand on your shoulder. That's how we welcome someone." You flinched. "Oh." Caleb scratched his neck, embarrassed. "I didn't mean to. On Earth, that kind of greeting is more personal. We usually shake hands." "I know," she said quietly. "I studied human customs, but I wanted to greet you like a friend." Caleb lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude." There was a pause. Then, her voice, softer than before. "Why don't you touch me, human?" The question wasn't aggressive. It wasn't demanding. It was filled with something else. Genuine sadness. Caleb raised his head slowly. Zarea's expression was calm, but her eyes were heavy with emotions. She couldn't say out loud, I didn't want to make a mistake," Caleb said. "I've heard some cultures punish people for doing the wrong thing." She nodded slowly. "Yes. But I wouldn't punish you, Caleb. Not for kindness. Not for sincerity." There was silence, again. Not heavy, just still. Zarea stood and walked toward the window. Her fingers brushed against the glass as she looked out into space. "Do you know what it's like to live your whole life surrounded by people, yet still feel like you are behind a wall?" He didn't answer. "I was born to rule, they say," she continued. "But they also say I am too soft, too open, too curious. So they keep me in places like this, hidden, protected, distant." Caleb stepped closer, but not too close. "Is that why you're alone here now?" She looked at him. "I asked to stay. When the storm came, I asked the guards to bring you here. I wanted to speak to a human. Just once." That surprised him. "Me? Why?" Seireya smiled faintly. Because humans are strange to us. You are loud, emotional, stubborn, but you are also full of hope and warmth. You care even when you're afraid. Caleb didn't know how to respond. No alien had ever said anything like that to him. He cleared his throat. You sound like you've been watching us for a long time. I have. She turned back toward the window. You are the first human I've seen up close. And yet, you stepped away. I was nervous. Caleb admitted. I didn't want to break any rule. I didn't want to ruin something. Her voice was barely a whisper now. You didn't ruin anything. You just reminded me that walls exist on both sides. A soft chime rang through the chamber. It was a system alert. Communications were slowly returning. The silence would soon be over. I guess they'll come for me soon, Caleb said. Seireya nodded. Yes, but if they ask you to stay, would you? He looked at her. I don't want to be alone again, she said. Even if it's just until the power is restored. Caleb smiled. I'd like that, but I still have one question. She tilted her head. Yes? That greeting you gave earlier, if I did it back, would it mean something different? Seireya stepped closer, lifting her hand slowly. If you placed your hand on my shoulder, it would mean trust. And if you touched my fingers, it would mean you see me. He hesitated only a second, then raised his hand and gently placed it beside hers. Her smile returned full this time, and in that quiet golden chamber beneath the stars, something invisible and beautiful began to grow between them. The sunrays of Verelia had not yet returned to full strength, but the palace halls were brighter than before. Caleb woke up in a guest chamber made entirely of smooth silver stone and soft blue lights that responded to his breath. He sat up, wondering if last night had been a dream, but as he looked at the chair beside the window, he saw something folded neatly. A robe made of a shimmering cloth, clearly not human-made. There was a small note beside it, written in clear human script. Meet me in the gardens, I want to show you something. Seireya. He smiled. After changing into the robe, which fit surprisingly well, he followed the glowing guide lights that blinked softly on the floor. The palace was still mostly empty, silent except for the faint hum of backup power systems. He stepped outside into the royal gardens. The sky above was a soft lavender color, with pale light shining through thin clouds. The garden was unlike anything on Earth. Trees with glassy leaves swayed gently without wind. Flowers hummed faint sounds as if singing, and at the center stood Seireya, watching a group of glowing birds fly in perfect circles above a pond. Caleb stepped forward. You weren't kidding about showing me something? She turned, smiling gently. This place is usually closed to visitors. Even most of the palace staff never come here. Then why bring me? Seireya looked at the sky, her eyes soft. Because you didn't laugh when I spoke from the heart, and you didn't look away. He walked up beside her. I think I'm still trying to figure you out. That's fair, she replied, lowering herself onto a curved bench beneath a tree with silver bark. Would you like to ask me something? Anything? Caleb sat down beside her, careful to leave space. Why do you feel so alone? You're royalty. You have people around you all the time. She picked a small, glowing petal from a nearby bush and held it between her fingers. I may have people around me, but not with me. That's different. He waited quietly. I'm the youngest of the Verelian royal family, she continued, born during a time of peace. But peace made me unnecessary. No wars to lead, no enemies to fight, just rules to follow. But you're still important, she smiled faintly. To them, I'm a symbol. I represent unity, harmony, the future. But no one asks me what I want, not even once. Caleb looked at her hands. Long, elegant, pale blue. He remembered how she had asked him why he didn't touch her. Now he understood better. I think I've felt a bit like that too, he admitted. On Earth, I was never the smartest in the room, just the tech guy, fix wires, replace parts, do my job, then go home. She looked at him. But you chose to come to Varelia. He nodded. Yeah. I wanted to see something new, something beyond Earth. I wanted to feel like I was part of something big. You are now, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a long silence between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like a bridge being built. Suddenly, she stood up. Come with me. There's more I want you to see. They walked deeper into the garden until they reached a strange circular platform covered in crystal tiles. With a soft voice command, Zyrea activated it. A holographic display rose from the ground, showing Earth, spinning slowly. I asked our scholars to study your world, your people, your history, she said. I've read about your wars, your pain, but also your kindness, your bravery, your love. Caleb stepped closer. We're messy, but we care. That's something humans do really well. Zyrea nodded. That's why I was so curious about your kind. So many stories, yet still I've never met one before you. He looked at her. And now? Now, she said. I see that humans carry walls inside them too. Just like we do. He smiled. I guess that makes us more alike than different. She turned toward him and her expression shifted, serious yet hopeful. Caleb, I want to ask you something. Anything. If I were not a princess, not part of this palace, you're just a girl from the star, would you talk to me the same way? He thought for a moment. Yeah, I would. Because you listened to me. You didn't treat me like I was just a human guest. You spoke to me like I mattered, she smiled again. That's all I ever wanted. Just then a small chime echoed from the garden gates. A Varelian guard approached, bowing his head. Princess Zyrea, communications are being restored. The Earth delegation has reconnected with their embassy. Orders will be sent soon, Zyrea nodded. Thank you, leave us for now. The guard left without another word. Caleb rubbed the back of his neck. I guess that means I'll be heading back soon. Zyrea looked down. Yes, but I was wondering, would you like to remain here for a few days? Until everything is fully restored? He was surprised. You want me to stay? She looked up again. Yes, as my guest, as my friend. He hesitated, then nodded. I'd like that. They walked back toward the palace slowly. The garden birds sang softly, and the crystal path glowed with each step. Caleb felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. As they neared the entrance, Zyrea paused. Caleb. Yeah? She reached out her hand, palm open, not touching, just waiting. He looked at it, then gently touched her fingers with his own. Her eyes lit up, not with power or status, but something far more real. You see me? She said softly. He nodded. And I won't look away. The days passed quietly, but not without meaning. Caleb remained in the palace, helping with small repairs while staying close to Princess Zyrea. Each day felt like something new was blooming. Between their words, between the moments of silence, and between the long looks they sometimes shared, Varelia's systems were slowly returning to normal. Power was almost fully restored. Outside the palace, the city lights flickered again, and the markets opened with soft music and colorful floating fabrics. But inside the palace, time moved differently for Caleb and Zyrea. One evening, Zyrea invited him to the high tower garden. It was a place reserved for royal meditation, with views that stretched far across the sky. The tower had no roof, just open air and stars above. As he stepped in, Caleb found her standing beneath a soft arch of glowing vines. You came, she said, smiling gently. I wouldn't miss this, he replied. Zyrea motioned toward the curved bench carved from stone and crystal. They both sat, looking up at the twin moons glowing above them. Do you know what humans are to us? She asked softly. Caleb raised an eyebrow. Aliens, she chuckled. Mysteries, stories, a race so far yet so full of life. We watched your broadcasts, for years before contact. So much music, dancing, chaos, but also beauty. Caleb smiled. We are a bit chaotic. I like that, she admitted. Your people, you don't hide emotions the way we do. Even now you sit beside me without fear. He looked at her hands folded neatly on her lap. I used to be afraid of making mistakes, of touching what I didn't understand. Zyrea looked at him, her eyes calm but full of emotion. And now? I want to understand, Caleb said. Not just you, but your world. Your ways. Zyrea rose slowly and stepped to the edge of the balcony. The wind moved her hair gently and the moonlight made her skin glow like soft porcelain. There's something I must tell you, Caleb, she said. Something difficult. He stood, his heart beating faster. What is it? There is a tradition, she began, one that has lasted for centuries. Every Varelian royal must agree to a union, one arranged by the council. It ensures balance, peace, and control. He nodded slowly. Like an arranged marriage? Yes. I am already expected to marry a noble named Thalek. He is powerful, wise, but I feel nothing when I'm with him. Caleb felt a tightness in his chest. And when you're with me? She turned toward him. I feel seen. I feel free. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Then Caleb asked quietly, Can you refuse the union? Zyrea shook her head. Not without consequence. I would lose my title, my place in the palace, perhaps even my freedom. Caleb looked away, unsure what to say. He had started to care for her deeply, but he didn't want to be the reason her life fell apart. I don't want you to lose anything because of me, he said. Zyrea stepped closer. But if I keep everything and lose the only person who treats me like a person, not a symbol, what would I really have? Caleb swallowed hard. He wanted to take her hand, but he held back. Just then, a small floating orb approached them. It pulsed red, a message from the palace. Zyrea waved her hand and the message played. To Princess Zyrea. The Earth Embassy has sent a request for Mr. Caleb's return. A transport will arrive tomorrow at sunrise. The orb blinked once, then floated away into the dark. They both stood in silence, looking at each other. Caleb broke the silence first. So, I guess I'm leaving tomorrow. Zyrea nodded slowly. Yes. He took a deep breath. Do you want me to stay? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped closer, just a breath away from him. If you stay, she said, everything changes. Not just for me, for you, for our worlds. You'll no longer be just a technician. You'll be the human who crossed a line no one dared cross. He looked into her eyes. Maybe. Some lines need to be crossed. She smiled, full of pride, fear, and hope. Then meet me in the Hall of Voices at sunrise. If you do, I'll know your answer. Without another word, she turned and walked, back into the tower, leaving him standing under the stars, his heart beating faster than ever. The next morning, the palace was busier than it had been in days. The solar storm had passed completely and life had returned to normal. But Caleb's mind wasn't calm at all. He stood outside the Hall of Voices, a sacred place where royal matters were decided. He wasn't sure if he was allowed to enter, but the guard stepped aside without a word. Inside, the hall was filled with high-ranking Varelians and council members. At the center, Zyrea stood in full ceremonial robes. She looked at him as he entered, her face calm, but her eyes searching. One council member stood. Human Caleb, you have been asked here to answer a simple question. Caleb bowed slightly. Yes? Do you deny your closeness with the princess? Caleb looked around the room. Every face was watching, waiting. He turned back to Zyrea. I do not deny it, he said. In fact, I'm proud of it. A quiet gasp spread through the hall. She treated me like a person, not a stranger, not a lesser being. She shared her thoughts, her fears, and in return, I gave her mine. The room remained silent. Caleb stepped forward. If your laws say that's wrong, then maybe your laws need to change. Zireya smiled, not just with her lips, but with her entire expression. Then slowly, carefully, she reached out her hand toward him, and Caleb touched her fingers in front of everyone. It wasn't loud. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was the beginning of something powerful. After Caleb touched Zireya's fingers in front of the council, the room fell into silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Zireya's hand stayed in his. She didn't pull away. She held on, not tightly, but clearly, calmly. The moment passed slowly, like the turning of a great wheel. Then at last one of the older council members stood. His face was thin, marked with deep lines. His voice was sharp and steady. This is not acceptable. Others murmured in agreement, while some looked unsure. Another counselor stood. Princess Zireya, your actions break tradition. You know, the laws. The union with Thalik has been prepared for years. This could start unrest. Zireya lifted her chin. Then let it start. If our peace is so weak it breaks over a touch, it was never real peace at all. Caleb stayed silent beside her. He didn't know the laws. He didn't understand the politics. But he knew one thing. He had never seen anyone look as brave as she did right now. This is dangerous, the first counselor warned. Humans are still new to this galaxy. They are not ready to mix with royalty. Caleb stepped forward. Then don't mix titles. Mix hearts. The hall gasped again. He continued. I'm not asking to wear a crown or walk in parades. I'm asking for the right to stay beside someone who saw me, not as a tool, not as a guest, but as a person. Zireya looked at him and smiled again. Her fingers squeezed his lightly. A younger counselor stood now. Her tone was gentler. The princess has broken no true law yet. The union with Thalik was arranged, not signed. Whispers passed through the room. Let her choose, someone said from the back. The elder shook his head. If we allow this, it will change how our people see us. We'll look weak, we'll look uncertain. Zireya's voice rang clear across the room. Then let them see us uncertain. Let them see we can feel, that we can grow. Let them see we are not stone statues but living beings who learn and love. No one spoke after that. Finally, the head of the council stood. He was the only one who had not spoken yet. His robes were heavy, and his face unreadable. I will not give an answer now, he said, but I will consider this event carefully. Until then, Princess Zireya is ordered to remain in the palace. Mr. Caleb may stay as her guest. There will be no punishment, for now. Caleb bowed his head, and Zireya did the same. As they walked out of the Hall of Voices, the heavy doors closed behind them like thunder. That evening the palace was quiet again, but this time the silence was different. Not empty, not lonely, just still, as if the walls were waiting to see what would happen next. Zireya and Caleb sat in the moonlit garden, beneath the tree with silver bark. The birds sang soft tunes, and the wind moved gently around them. I'm sorry, Caleb said. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't, Zireya replied. You spoke your truth. That's not trouble. That's courage. Caleb looked at her. Are you scared? She nodded. Yes, but not of the council, not of losing the throne. Then what? I'm scared that I'll open my heart, and you'll be taken away. He leaned forward. I won't run, Zireya, not from you. They sat in silence for a while. Then she stood and walked toward the glowing pond nearby. Do you know what happens when a Varelian falls in love? She asked. No, Caleb replied. Tell me. She turned to him, her eyes gentle. We dream. Deep, shared dreams. Our minds begin to connect. Slowly at first. It starts with one memory, then another, until two people begin to see the world through each other's eyes. Caleb stood beside her. That sounds beautiful, and also a little scary. It is both, she said, but only when the feelings are real. He thought for a moment, then spoke carefully. I think I had a dream last night. I was standing on a glowing hill. I saw stars, but they were singing. I've never dreamed like that before. Zaira smiled. Then it's already begun. He blinked. Wait, really? She nodded. Only Virelian bonds cause those kinds of dreams. It means your heart is listening to mine. Caleb looked at her, stunned. Zaira, what does this mean for us? She reached up and touched his cheek gently. It means we must be brave. The next day, a message came from the human embassy. They had heard rumors from the palace about Caleb and the princess. Concerned about political damage, they sent orders. Return immediately or risk being removed from the diplomatic program. Caleb sat in the garden holding the message pad. He knew what it meant. If he stayed, he would know. Longer be a regular technician. He might not be welcomed back to Earth's official work anytime soon. Zaira entered the garden and saw the worry on his face. They're calling you back, she said. He nodded. Yes, and if I stay, I may lose my position. Zaira sat beside him. Then the choice is yours. He turned to her. What would you do if you were me? She didn't hesitate. I would choose the person who makes me feel alive. But I cannot ask you to give up your future for me. He looked down, then slowly stood. I'm not giving anything up, he said. I'm choosing a different path, one that starts with you. Her breath caught in her throat. Are you sure? Caleb held out his hand. Zaira took it. And in that simple act, under the violet sky of Virelia, 2 lives, 2 worlds, and 2 hearts, began a journey neither of them had ever imagined. Morning light spilled across the marble floors of the Virelian palace. The sky was bright, the energy towers were back at full power, and the quiet hum of the capital buzzed once more. But inside the royal chamber, something much bigger was rising than sunlight or electricity. Princess Zaira stood in front of the tall mirror, her ceremonial robe draped over her shoulders. The colors of her robe had changed, from the usual royal white to a deep silver blue. That change had meaning. Today, she was not wearing the colors of tradition. Today, she was wearing the colors of choice. Behind her, Caleb adjusted the collar of his formal Earth uniform, one he might never wear again after this. He looked into the mirror and caught her gaze. She smiled, and he returned it. Are you ready? She asked softly. He took a breath. As ready as I'll ever be. They stepped out together side by side. The grand unity hall was filled with people from both worlds, Virelians in shimmering robes and Earth diplomats in sharp suits. Council members sat in a half circle at the front, and in the middle stood the High Elder, who had not yet given his final decision. The room fell silent as Zaira and Caleb entered. Some gasped. Some whispered. But no one looked away. Zaira stood straight, calm and strong. Caleb stood beside her, not as a soldier or a technician, but as a man who had made a choice. The High Elder rose. Today, we witness something that has never happened before. A royal of Virelia has openly bonded with a human. This is new, and new things often cause fear. He looked around the room, then returned his gaze to the two before him. Some say this connection will bring weakness, others say it will bring chaos. But I have lived through chaos before, and I tell you this, true danger comes not from new feelings, but from the fear of feeling anything at all. There were a few nods, a few widened eyes. The High Elder continued. Princess Zaira, do you still stand by your choice to break the arranged union? I do, she said clearly. And Caleb of Earth? Do you understand that by standing here, you are stepping into the middle of a political storm that could change both our worlds? Caleb glanced at Zyrea, then nodded. Yes, and I'm still standing. The elder stepped down from his platform. Then so be it. He walked slowly toward them and extended both hands. In the name of both Virelia and Earth, I recognize this bond as real, honest, and chosen. The room filled with quiet murmurs, but no one interrupted. The elder turned back to the crowd. Let the world watch and decide for themselves what kind of future they want. One ruled by fear of change, or one guided by the courage to grow. After the ceremony, the palace was filled with light conversation, soft music, and a feeling of hope that hadn't been felt in years. Caleb stood near a glowing sculpture sipping a drink made of something sweet and cool. Earth officials approached him, still unsure of what to say. You've made a bold move, one of them said. I know, Caleb replied, and I'll take whatever comes next. Surprisingly, the official nodded. It might be hard at first, but you've also opened a door no one thought possible. Across the hall, Zyrea was speaking with members of the younger Varelian generation. They seemed excited, curious, even inspired. One of them asked her, Princess, do you think this will really change things? She smiled. It already has. That night, the palace garden was quiet again. Caleb and Zyrea sat under the silver tree, their favorite place. Do you miss Earth? She asked. He thought for a moment. I miss parts of it, but I think I was always meant to end up somewhere else. Somewhere unexpected. She leaned her head on his shoulder. We are both unexpected, he laughed. Maybe that's why it works. They sat there, listening to the gentle sounds of nature. The wind moved the glowing leaves. The stars above blinked slowly, and for a long while they didn't speak. They didn't need to. At last, Zyrea whispered, The first time I touched you, I was afraid. Caleb turned to her. And now? I'm still afraid, she admitted, but I'd rather be afraid with you than safe without you. He smiled and took her hand. You're not alone anymore. She looked up at him. Her eyes shined in the moonlight. Neither are you. Weeks passed. Then months. The news of their bond spread beyond Virelia and Earth. Other worlds in the galaxy took notice. Some criticized. Some supported. But all listened. Zyrea and Caleb became symbols, not of rebellion but of understanding. The human Virelian exchange program expanded. Artists, teachers, and scientists from both worlds started working together. Old fears slowly gave way to curiosity. The Royal Council updated several ancient laws, including those about arranged unions. Choice, they said, must be allowed room to grow. And through it all, Caleb remained by Zyrea's side. Not as a prince, not as a politician, but as a partner. They faced challenges, of course. Not everyone accepted them. Not every day was easy. But they faced it together. They built a life, partly Earth, partly Virelia, fully their own. And on a quiet evening, in the garden where it all began, Zyrea asked with a smile in her voice, You remember the first thing I ever asked you? Caleb chuckled. Yeah. Why don't you touch me, human? She nodded. And now? He leaned forward and kissed her forehead gently. Now, he said, I never want to let go.